Was it a bad idea to race Cape Epic that early in the season?
Well, yes, probably. I still have emotional scars from it, I would say.
I want to start you off with a little round of quick-fire questions. Favorite burger joint?
That would be probably In-N-Out, yeah. Usually if I do a big ride or something like that, I'll reward myself with a burger afterwards.
Gin or tequila?
Tequila. You might be thrown off by my haircut, but I'm not a total hipster.
I'm living on my own, and this is my lockdown haircut I did myself. So what happened there?
We've really lost control of the situation. I have to be honest. I mean, we made it a couple of weeks and things were pretty normal and okay. And we were like, oh yeah, this is going to be fine. And then I watched Tiger King and this is what happened.
When was your last hangover?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I took the entire last year off of drinking. And that was quite the experiment. And I think a positive one overall, but there's no question that we have had a few drinks during this lockdown. And yeah, man, I mean, it's probably not the best crutch out there, but at the same time, I do enjoy a good adult beverage here and there. So yeah, it's only been a couple of days since I had a hangover.
What's your favorite holiday of the year?
Probably Thanksgiving. It's just family time.
It's like wherever you go where there's interviews with you and anything, family seems to be a big thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm lucky now. We have a 7-month-old daughter. Yeah, the family is a huge piece for me. And I've been lucky. I got lucky in the parent lottery, and I've got 2 awesome parents, a great sister, and then extended family as well.
Why did you take the year of alcohol? What drove you to do that?
It was kind of a personal challenge, I think, more than anything, and just to sort of see how it would, influence my mood, my performance on the athletic side. And the thing was, the feedback was actually really positive. I mean, and it's not that I was crazy before or anything like that. I would always take big blocks off before races, especially important ones. But it just became kind of an interesting personal challenge just to go the entire year. And overall, I learned that it's probably better for my athletic performance.
So did you feel a difference?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think overall, it was easier to, I don't know, it just kind of kept me on more of an even keel with my mood. And I think overall athletic performance, just from an inflammatory standpoint, whatever it was, I don't know exactly, but yeah, and I also think there's something mental about the commitment to something like that, whether or not it's exactly 100% beneficial on a cellular level or whatever. I think it's also just knowing that you did some extra pieces, and sometimes that is helpful too when you toe the line.
I feel alcohol is like the easy one. Like, could you imagine going a year without coffee?
That's beyond comprehension. It's completely impossible to imagine.
That's a no. So tell me the truth. You've jumped on the Tiger King bandwagon here. Have you jumped on the latte art lockdown bandwagon?
I haven't, and I actually probably should because my latte art is weak.
How did you get around the challenge?
It's pretty simple. So when you get tagged in something, you just ignore it.
I gotta try that. Where's your favorite spot in the world other than home?
South Africa is special to us. We always have fun when we go over there.
The next question on my quickfire list is, what makes you so successful on South African soil?
There's something about South Africa. The people there are just sport crazy. You get down there and you realize just people are following the sport. They know who you are. There's just a great energy about it. And then on race day, it's a whole nother level. I mean, I feel like there's very few races where you get that kind of crowd energy, and it's got a great vibe to it. I think you just feel like you're very welcome no matter who you are.
So good, the support out there. Even in the later stages, when you're showered and you had food, they're still out there going. I've tried it.
You say that, but the truth is I know both sides because I did have that experience of finishing in 12 hours there that time. So yeah, I'm familiar with both ends.
When was that, 2018?
Yeah, it was after the Cape Epic, yeah. So,
all right, yeah. Between us, was it a bad idea to race Cape Epic that early in the season?
Well, yes, probably. I still have emotional scars from it, I would say. Yeah, it was kind of one of those living nightmares where I just suffered the whole time. And then, of course, to come out of it with that injury that took me out of the race in South Africa as well, it was, I would say the main positive that came out of it was it deepened my friendship with Sebastian Kienle. And then probably the other piece was that it taught me more about suffering than maybe any other endurance event that I've ever done before. But besides that, yeah, it was probably a bad idea.
Probably. Which brings me to another question on my quickfire list. Who's the better mountain biker, you or Sebi?
Oh, I'm definitely better. Yeah, there's no question.
Do you want to go back when the career is over? Do you want to make up for that experience that you had?
Well, I mean, I just said everything that I said. And then, when I talk about it, it brings back this flood of memories where I'm like, maybe I should go back and challenge myself with it again. And, maybe knowing what it's like this time, I would do better and I would avoid getting sick and all the other things that kind of drag me down a little bit.
But funny enough, you're one of the few athletes who's actually willing to mix up things during his career as well. Why did you decide like you want to do those things already during your career?
Triathlon is amazing. I love it. It's given me so much, and it's not something I really ever expected that would be such a big part of my life. I mean, I didn't start this until I was at university, and here I am 15, 16 years later, and I've made a career out of it. I've had incredible experiences. But the truth is too that, having like a baby daughter now that's 7 months old, it's perspective, right? I mean, you realize that, yeah, this is cool and you want to win and whatever else, but it's not everything, right? And I feel like there's bigger things in life. And so, yeah, to me, it's more about having the experience. That's what you really look back at. It's the relationships you had with people, the experiences you had, the travel that you did. Those are the things that you really look back on fondly. And so for me, yeah, I'm living an experience right now, and it's not all just about the results.
I got one more question on my Quickfire before this is the longest Quickfire I've ever had, actually, which is great. I'm trying to have a good conversation. This has nothing at all to do that I recently talked to Lionel Sanders, but who has the ugliest running style in triathlon?
I mean, you weren't trying to steer me towards anything there, were you?
Not at all. How would I?
Something is coming into my mind. Quasimodo. Yes, Lionel, definitely. Yeah, it looks like something's broken. I'm simultaneously like cringing and hoping that he figures out whatever that hitch in his giddy up is. But at the same time, I'm also kind of like, well, maybe if he figured it out, we would all be that much more screwed because he's such an animal that he would be way faster.
There's definitely something wrong, but it's great. It gives me something to talk about. I love it.
Josie has entered the chat.
Hey, Josie.
Say hi, Jill. Hi. Say hi. Did you get a little nap?
This must be the first time ever a baby smiles at me. Josie, I like you. 10 points for you.
Actually, just Kelsey that's behind the camera, so.
It doesn't matter. Don't ruin it for me now. Come on. It's like, I've been alone in my apartment for 6 weeks. Give me something. She looks super happy. Is she just showing off now, or is she like a happy child?
We are so lucky, man. She turned out to be like a ridiculously awesome baby. And I want to take credit for it, but I feel like there's not, it's too early to take credit for this, especially since, I'm out on my bike most days. And so I'm basically the absent father, but no, really, she's awesome.
Has it changed your training in any way?
It's more than anything. It's just been like motivating, to have a baby to work for now and something else to put my energy into, especially when I'm off the bike,
Did you have that thing that everybody talks about, like it changes, like having a child changes perspective on things and so on?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it started to happen even before she came into the world, but obviously when she was born, it went to another level. But I feel like triathlon is a huge passion and something I take very seriously, but at the same time, like I know what's most important to me, and it's definitely my family, and now of course my daughter, and yeah, she's definitely an inspiration overall.
So if you could tell her something now, what you want for her life, what would that be?
Of course, as a parent, you're supposed to say that you want your kid to have everything, and I do. I want her to have all the opportunities, but I think it's like a fine balance too, where I kind of wish some struggle for her too, because I feel like you want them to have the character building moments and the things that kind of, I don't know, teach them the lessons, that really stick with them for their whole life. And I look at my life and it's been an amazing life. And I think a lot of it has come through the struggle, actually. You learn a lot more about yourself from the failures than you do from the successes.
Do you remember any defining moments that defined you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think after my freshman year in college, I went to Alaska and I thought I'm going to go up there and get a job. And, my truck broke down. I was living out of the back of it. I made like $2,000 that summer and just scraped by. And then the same thing at the beginning of my professional triathlon career. I mean, my family's always been supportive, but I was on my own and I was trying to make it happen. And I made $1,000 a month and I just basically spent every cent just so I could survive. But those are the formative experiences too, and the things that make you appreciate the really good times and when you finally do crack through. I'm not saying I had a particularly, difficult life by any means, but it hasn't been always super easy either. And if I'm honest, like, it's weird. Sometimes I feel like you're striving on the surface, at least, for like these, for more money, for more stuff, nicer things, whatever it is. And then oftentimes I get out on my bike and I'm just thinking like, what I'm really after actually are like the hard moments, like that's what I really thrive on actually, if I'm honest with myself, because yeah, it just seems more authentic and real and raw. And I think I just get more out of that actually than I do from being super comfortable.
How was it growing? Go to mom.
Go to mom.
Yeah. How was it growing up for you? Like, I really relate to what you're saying. Like, for example, like growing up at home, we didn't have a bad life, but like we didn't get money handed or something. I was always the one with the least pocket money in school, but by chopping wood or mowing the lawn or something like that, we could always earn extra money at home. How was it growing up for you?
Same way, exactly. I feel like I was very middle class. Like, I mean, nothing special. My parents worked hard. My dad's a building contractor. My mom was a nurse, and then she became a professor at college later on in her career, teaching nursing. But it was a pretty like average American kid upbringing. And actually, I remember being in middle school and all my friends, like on the first day of school, they would have like this Tommy Hilfiger clothing and all this nice stuff. And I had gone to like Mervyn's at the mall and shopped for like this off-brand, stuff. And I was always a little embarrassed because we just didn't have the money to spend on really fancy clothes or whatever it was. And, I grew up working on the job site with my dad. And, even when I was really young, before I could really do anything to help him from a construction standpoint, I would like sweep up the job site and clean up. And it was always just a part of my life, I guess, being, out there doing some kind of job. And I look at myself as not a particularly gifted athlete when it comes to the physiological side. I'm more of the hard worker, so I feel like I have to do the hard work to get, things done. And for me also, hard work has always been its own reward. I mean, I really do love working hard. It just feels good when you're done. I've had this conversation with Sebastian before, and I don't want to steal his line entirely, but it's that feeling of like going out and doing a really hard workout, and then you come back and you're just so much more appreciative of like your couch and like a cold Coke in the fridge or whatever it is. You just feel like you've actually earned it.
Like the work ethic and everything that you got from your parents and so on. Is there something where you say like, this is one of the best things I learned from my parents?
And I think the biggest thing they really taught me was to have patience and perspective. Even in something like what we're going through right now, I feel like everyone they're grasping really hard at, whatever information is out there. And we don't have a lot of great information, unfortunately, yet. But, the truth is that panicking is not going to help anything. We really just need to be calm and do what we can every day and be smart about it. And I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just having that patience and perspective to know that there's always another race, that this thing that you think, like you said, is a really big deal isn't such a big deal in the end. And when you behave that way in the moment, when you don't overreact, things tend to turn out a lot better, and you usually get through those problems a lot faster.
Do you ever annoy people with that point of view, that you're like too relaxed about situations or too patient or things like that?
Yeah, definitely. I would say probably namely my wife.
Ben,
bring it on.
Thank you so much for taking the time, spending the time with me and keeping connected here. And very cool to catch up.
Definitely. I appreciate it. And stoked to be part of the PTO. It's awesome movement, and really just feeling connected to everyone, the entire pro triathlon community. It's something I've believed in for a long time. And it's just cool to see it coming together now. And I think especially in this moment, in this time, it's really important for us to kind of unify, stay together, stay connected. And I'm stoked to be part of it.